いきなり消えてたって。で、座っていたシートがびっしょりで。
And this is why I don't use Uber as much these days. That I think they're jacking up their prices. Same old, and we open with some good continuity with the Tropical Club celebrating the success of their sand art contest, even landing on the front page of the school newspaper. With that, Manatsu wanted to immediately plan their next big event using something that she just found lying around in the room. Do you really want me to play that clip? Because I will!
How do you do, fellow kids?
However, that would have to be put on hold as the disciplinary committee had arrived for a surprise inspection because... This is what happens when you give Toshino Kyoko any sort of authority. They ended up looking all over the club room and didn't bar to clean up afterwards, jerks. Asuka agreed with me and decided to confront them. Yeah, it kinda sounds insane when you put it like that. Surprisingly, Toshino Kyoko didn't actually believe there were actually any mermaids, but rather just a chain of pranks pulled off by some delinquents. Thus, they did inspect every club room to possibly find the ne'er-do-wells, while also confiscating anything they deemed as contraband, which included a Wonder Swan, Tamagotchi, and Digimon. Okay, not sure how many kids these days play with those. As well as some manga like, Hammer? Ooh, does that cover the Hammer exam arc? Because I really want to reread that one chapter where that guy's heart was violently torn out. Seriously, go read or watch Hunt x Hunter, it's awesome. And for some reason, a school uniform, I mean, they do kind of give a reason why it's confiscated later, but it also does feel a little overly convenient considering what's coming up. Moreover, shouldn't they return at least part of that outfit as well as a few other valuables? And as if that wasn't bad enough, she continued to single out the Tropical Club after this incident in a blatant abuse of power. Asuka rightfully confronted the president over this. Though, while I do find the committee to be a little annoying, I do actually like the conflict this is generating with Asuka, especially when it resulted in this little bit of character building. Meanwhile, rumors of a mermaid causing mischief at and around the school began to spread in the format of some typical Japanese school urban legends. Though interestingly, the mermaid here looked different than Laura, hinting at maybe another fish girl, either that or they're just rumors. Regardless, this could be some interesting seed planning, which the Precure took notice of. Arto! Though this bit of the drowning mermaid at the sand art contest was more likely Sango splashing water, which, yeah, that's pretty hilarious when you actually think about it. And Toshino Kyoko soon joined the talk when Laura accidentally revealed herself to her. This resulted in another inspection, and everyone briefly getting Mitsuru Aoyama designs, and no, he wasn't the animation director this week, or else this would all be a lot more inconsistent. But rather, Alice Nario and Francis Kaneda. They are usually a strong directing duo, but for some reason, some scenes here look better than others. I don't know, maybe they were under a time crunch. Anyway, because someone didn't put their toys away, the titular confiscation of the Aquapod happened halfway into this episode, and this forced Laura to hide, and ha! You know, between this and that little crawl she did a couple episodes back, I'm starting to think that this fish is part snake. Strangely though, she didn't take the skateboard, I'm guessing for the sake of plot convenience, as we'll soon see. Meanwhile, Elda, without any real build-up, just launched another attack. Yeah, does anyone else feel like the revelation of the Zenzen Yaraneda has kind of died down already? Still, while the Precure did want to retrieve the Aquapod, defeating the monster took priority. Of course, they would still need it to recover any stolen motivation energy, but Laura, in a really good heroic moment for someone like her, encouraged them to go. Really, Laura throughout this series has been a great example of a Deuteragonist, the secondary main character of a story. She has been instrumental to much of this series' development over about the first quarter or so, providing the Cures with both their powers and lore of her own world. All the while, she's been going through her own well-paced arc. Let's not forget that at the beginning of the series, she was nothing short of a jerk-off. And now we can, at least drop the off part of that term. Yeah, thankfully, she hasn't shaken off all of her slightly hostile tendencies and still qualifies as at least a cute tsundere. Moreover, she hasn't taken too much spotlight away from Manatsu, who for the most part has remained the main character and leader of this team. I mean, I still like Laura more than Manatsu, but at the same time, I can acknowledge that's coming more from a place of personal preference rather than objective storytelling. Of course, they were still too late to stop the motivation drain, but they still tried to slow down the monster, leading to some much better animation here that actually looked like some good Alice and Francis work. Meanwhile, Laura used the skateboard to take a page out of Muromi-san's playbook, and with school done for the day, she managed to get around undetected except for Toshino Kyoko's eyes. Okay, Kyoko, we all know that you ended up with Ayano in the end, but do you really have to follow her example that much? Eventually she caught up with her, but very fortunately there was that other foreshadowed item which again I find overly convenient, especially the length of the skirt. I guess the committee also confiscated some shoes that somehow Laura managed to slip her fins into. Still, she managed to get her toy back and seemingly was going to get off scot-free until... Also, why are you walking around like Danny DeVito in Batman Returns? Yet, in spite of that, she still couldn't keep up with Laura because of her frankly stupid rule, and she managed to escape. Meanwhile, the Precure were still fighting the monster, but not defeating it because... Yeah, just ignore that one inconsistency from a couple episodes back. Fortunately, Laura arrived in her new attire that surprisingly wasn't wet, and they did their usual routine. The next day, Toshino Kyoko confronted them about the incident with Laura, which led to her losing sleep by the looks of it. And she confirmed that the Aquapod was no longer in their possession, to which Asuka just admitted that they had taken it back. Though apparently they didn't break any rules because at some point they had gotten permission from their advisor to recognize the Aquapod as an important tool for their club activities. I'm not sure when they did that, either before or after that inspection, and I'm pretty sure they should still get in trouble if they took it before that commission went into effect. But hey look, a seal on a skateboard! And fortunately, I think the rest of the committee were just getting tired of their leader shtick and were likely going to send her back to the amusement club. With that, the episode ended with Laura celebrating her new attire that would let her walk around freely, and yet while it would only really benefit their team, Asuka and Minori told her to return it. This was a much more fun episode than last week's outing, with some good character development for both Laura and Asuka, as well as some hinting towards the latter's past. It's actually kind of a surprise that it was written by Isao Murayama. Oh, don't get me wrong, I do expect good character and world building out of him, but his last episode wasn't nearly as funny as this. I think he was still adjusting to the show's brand of humor, and thankfully he seems to have gotten the hang of it. The animation was a little uneven in areas, and I did start to find the Dark Kyoko a little annoying, but otherwise the writing for the protagonist has remained great. The comedy of this episode definitely benefited from taking advantage of all of the characters' previously established traits, like Minori's dry delivery, Manatsu's overreactions, and of course, Laura's anatomy. Obviously, this also led to some good showings from the Little Mermaid, who proved her resourcefulness. The fact she also went to such selfless lengths to get the Aquapod back was also really admirable and a good display of her character. Hence why I still have to call a little BS on them telling her to go return the uniform. At least give her some reward for all she did, as previous episodes have established that she just wants to be, well, you know. Though that's another strength of Murayama's writing, great continuity with previous episodes, which I think was kind of missing from his last episode, though thankfully I think he got a feel for the show as he even managed to show some interesting new plot threads for Asuka. My only minor complaints were some inconsistent animation, though I do expect better from Alice and Francis. And while I get that they were supposed supposed to be antagonists, the Disciplinary Committee just kinda became annoying when they wouldn't let up on the Tropical Club, and yet also did eye-rollingly stupid stuff like their leader not running after Laura when she clearly had some authority to do so against a rule breaker. Plus, there was just some very questionable plot convenience surrounding her, like not confiscating the skateboard and just having that extra uniform lying around. Still, I can kind of overlook that, as this was a really fun episode that seems to be setting the groundwork for some future developments, including more from Asuka's past, and by the looks of the preview, more Laura in disguise. Just hope she washes all her clothes after she gets them wet. So, I've started work on my next Toy Trinity video, where I'll be taking a look at some of their past tokusatsu and comparing it against their current product. And then I go in here that they've been sending C&Ds to Kamen Rider and Super Sentai Fansubbers. I mean, while I'm not going to do anything different just yet, and probably will try to finish that video, I'm also observing this situation, and depending on how it turned out, I might outright cancel that project and go right back to my Gold Princess review. Though I'll say for now, I don't think we should panic just yet, and I'll be sure to keep you guys updated if anything develops. With all that said, until next time though, farewell for now, my friends, and one thing that the Aquapod probably has over my iPhone, better battery life. There's the charger.